We have some news when it comes to the new extension talks between Oilers general manager Stan Bowman and Leon Draisaitl's party when it comes to contract negotiations and all that jazz. But before we get into all the breakdowns and some of the prospect breakdowns, as the Gretzky Cup is underway in Edmonton, so I will talk about the first round selection from this year's draft for the Oilers, Sam O'Reilly. But before we get into that, make sure to subscribe here to Oilers Digest, as we are very close to 1,400 subscribers. Anything and everything Edmonton Oilers related will be covered on the channel, and I'm sure in the coming days, coming weeks, there will be some breaking news to cover. But before we get into everything in this video is brought to you by NordVPN. When it comes to the future of the Edmonton Oilers defense, nothing is ever set in stone, but with our friends over at NordVPN, your internet's defense is guaranteed. Using public Wi-Fi networks at shopping malls or airports can be very risky, leaving your personal data out in the open for anyone to access. But with NordVPN, your personal data is encrypted, hiding your IP address and creating an extra layer of privacy, providing super simple, super easy protection with just one click, allowing for stress-free browsing. And I know most of us have ran into the problem trying to access content like a movie or TV show, or even international news that isn't available in your country, but it is available in another. With NordVPN, you can easily change your location and enjoy content from different countries easily on all your favorite sites, allowing you to travel the world from the comfort of your own home with over 6,000 servers in 111 countries. With Nord Special Threat Protection Pro and Dark Web Monitor, you get an extra layer of protection from unwanted malware on your device, and you will be notified if your sensitive personal info ends up on the dark web, even if you aren't connected to a VPN server at the time. Visit nordvpn.com/Oilers and use our code to get an exclusive NordVPN deal plus 4 extra months. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Check out NordVPN in the pinned comment or description down below to keep you protected. And shout out NordVPN for sponsoring the channel and for helping you guys become safer online. Again, thank you very much to NordVPN for sponsoring the video and the channel. But without further ado, let's get right into the news. Extension Watch 2024. Yes, it's been a summer of waiting for Leon Draisaitl to sign his extension for the Edmonton Oilers. 8-year deal, 5-year deal. No one knows. No one knows the exact number just yet. Bob Stauffer and a whole bunch of other Oiler writers have been, speculating the term, the number, but no one knows just yet. But there was an interview with Stan Bowman with Derek Van Diest from NHL.com, and he had this to say: Leon is a super talented player, a huge part of what we're doing, and he has been and will be for some time, and that hasn't changed at all, Bowman said. I think it's really hard to find stars in the NHL, so when you have him, the goal is to keep him. Said the same thing with Connor. Those guys are a huge reason the team's had a successful run so far, and they will be a big part of the future too. Adding on, I had a good conversation with Draisaitl's agent, Michael Liut, former NHL starting goaltender, and we're starting things off, and the timing on that will be what it will be. Bowman added on Monday at the 2024 Hlinka Gretzky Cup at Rogers Place. I don't have an update of where it's going to be or the timing on that, but there is nothing negative to report, certainly, which is very exciting to hear from Stan Bowman. Of course, the Draisaitl extension was the very first thing on his to-do list this summer, and it is continuing alongside with some RFA deals that still have yet to be completed with Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg. But I'm sure once the Draisaitl extension and all the numbers fall into place for that, then we will hear some more of that leading up to the season. And lastly here, he said there are some similarities for sure. Of course, he was asked about, the Blackhawks dynasty there with Kane and Toews, with the similarities to Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. Of course, adding Kane and Toews were younger than Leon and Connor were, so they hit the ground running in their young years. Most of the success we had were in their first 5, 6, 7, or 7 years in the league, where Connor and Leon are now. They're more established in their careers, not just them, Hyman and Nugent-Hopkins. You go down the list, and there's some pretty good experience with this group. And last, they obviously came really close last season, of course, the Game 7 loss to the Florida Panthers. So there's not a lot of big changes that are necessary. It's more supporting the players that are here. Bowman said, you look at where we are right now with some of the other pieces, Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner, the two newest big names when it comes to the Oilers' free agent acquisitions. So there are some real nice additions to the group. When you put that on top of bringing back some of the key players from this year's team, the goal moving forward is to make sure we keep the players that are integral to the success of the team. Now, of course, Stan Bowman comes in with the Blackhawks dynasty experience. Of course, it was more so Dale Talon that built the structure, the backbone of that team, and Stan Bowman kind of carried it on and dismantled it, I should say. But it's very, very important for him to, you know, access the important parts of the team. Of course, you know, so close to, you know, sending it to game overtime in Game 7. So to get, you know, Leon on the right track there. Of course, you know, nothing's been set in stone, but he has some good conversations, which is very exciting to hear when you're an Oiler fan. You know, in the dog days of summer, you're willing to take anything and everything when it comes to Oilers news. But when it comes to more Oilers news, it's the O'Reilly Report. We're going to break down the newest prospect, or the newest first-round pick by the Edmonton Oilers, of course, Sam O'Reilly of the London Knights, and Bruce Kurlock of Oilers Nation, the best Oiler prospect analyst, I should say, had this to say. He said, O'Reilly is a very smart defensive player who understands his defensive zone quite well. He said he knows how to take away sticks in body position from opponents and will step in front of pucks on a routine basis. Because of all of this, the Knights had O'Reilly in a shutdown role containing other teams' top scoring forwards. O'Reilly ended the season at a +32, which was good for 9th best amongst all OHL forwards. I mean, at an 18-year-old role on a very stacked London Knights team. As you can see there, he was the second line right wing. Of course, Easton Cowan, second line center. Leaf fans are all familiar with him. Even I'm familiar with him. Easton Cowan, very exciting, bright piece for the Leafs. But enough about him. When it comes to, you know, and more analysis regarding Sam O'Reilly, I mean, the two best prospect evaluators at The Athletic had this to say about him. Of course, Corey Pronman had him ranked at number 41. Of course, taking number 32. Of course, the Oilers traded up to the first round as they didn't have their 2023 first round pick. Writing that he played in all situations. He's a two-way center. He competes hard and has physicality. I've seen quicker skaters, but he can escape pressure and has good enough quickness for the NHL level. O'Reilly has quality skill and vision and can create chances. And of course, the other analyst here, the prospect evaluator, Scott Wheeler, had O'Reilly slotted in at number 52, writing O'Reilly does the little things really well, whether that's making good little plays off the wall, stick lifts, his board work offensively, spinning off a check to create a little bit of space to funnel play to the slot, or defending with detail. He's also a natural center who's good in the face-off circle and a plus-level skater and athlete. He projects as a potential, well-rounded, complementary pro. Which, I mean, when it comes to Sam O'Reilly in all, you know, the prospect evaluations, there's not much negatives to, you know, sort of see about the kid. He's a little small, but again, he's 18, still has 2 more years in the OHL if he wishes. Of course, the Edmonton Oilers aren't in a they don't have to rush prospects. I know in prior years they rushed guys like, you know, Andrew Cogliano, Sam Gagner, Magnus PRV, all of their first round picks. They did rush up to the team as soon as possible. Of course, you know, the guys like Nugent-Hopkins, Hall, McDavid, they had their place on the team, but there were a few years where the Oilers could have just let their players, you know, play one more year in junior or in college, if you will. About Sam O'Reilly, he has the benefit of continuing to play in the OHL. And on the positive side of the ledger, of course, you know, the rankings weren't very kind to Sam O'Reilly, but he was described by Brock Otten from OHL Prospects as a riser during the later portion of the OHL season. That can indicate a mere hot streak or be a big step forward with big implications, I should say. Otten wrote before the draft, the only thing missing from O'Reilly's game outside of an increased role, of course he did play on the second line throughout the playoffs in the Memorial Cup, is a more dynamic stride. He's got the skill, he's got the hand, he's got the vision and sense. He's already one of the best defensive forwards available. There's a lot of Scott Laughton here. However, that may just be the low end of the ceiling. Of course, Scott Laughton with the Philadelphia Flyers. Pretty all-right defensive center, I should say. And then lastly here, why did the Oilers choose O'Reilly? You know, where can he sort of fit on the Oilers eventually? O'Reilly describes his game as trench work, and the Oilers have been adding that kind of player over recent summers. And of course, they've always had a guy like that throughout the years, like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Like, imagine a team with 12 forwards who can lean on a defenseman like Draisaitl, cross-check a defenseman while removing the puck from opposition possession with the precision of a surgeon like McDavid, and pursue the puck with reckless abandon like Zach Hyman. Of course, you're not always going to get that with Sam O'Reilly. He can't do all three at once, even though it would be nice, but it's nice to see the Oilers sort of bulk up their team. Of course, they had guys in prior years, like, you know, like a Kyler Yamamoto's a bit on the smaller end of the spectrum here, but, you know, to make the team, quite frankly, more annoying to play against, I'm all for it here. But is there a role for Sam O'Reilly? I mean, in future years with the Oilers, he could slot into the bottom six as a bottom six, you know, centerman, or they could potentially use him as a trade piece at the, you know, say the trade deadline next year, a la Reed Schaefer. Of course, Reed Schaefer was in that Mattias Ekholm trade in 2023 as a part of the Oilers prospects. So I don't know if that was sort of a 4D chess move from Jeff Jackson to draft a player like Sam O'Reilly, see him, you know, rise, have a huge breakout season in the OHL, and then potentially flip him for something bigger at the deadline. Of course, with the Oilers, their prospects, not the deepest prospect pool. Of course, they did add a player like Matthew Savoy, but with Savoy and O'Reilly, after that, sort of kind of dwindles off. So it might not be wise for the Oilers to trade Sam O'Reilly, but that, you know, that choice is always there. That's it for today's video. Let me know what you think down in the comments regarding, you know, the Draisaitl extension, your thoughts on the Hlinka Gretzky Cup, who's your favorite prospect so far, and what are your thoughts on Sam O'Reilly? Should the Oilers let him marinate down in the OHL, or should they try and get something bigger at the trade deadline, or even next year at the draft? Let me know down in the comments. Have yourselves a great day. I'm Matt.